Hello students, welcome to Btech360. Today I'm going to talk of one particular course which is design, which a lot of students actually take up these days, and talk about the history of design courses and why it was actually created for India. Now, design education in India did not come on organically. It was a deliberate policy push. In 1961, the first IIM came in. Along with that, the policymakers those days even thought of the first design school of India also. So IIMs, NIDs all came together, all in Ahmedabad. Remember the first, I'm Ahmedabad, and then we talk of NID Ahmedabad. And all this came because the policymakers those days were very, very clear that they wanted to create a deliberate push for design education in the country. As I told you, the design education in India didn't emerge organically. It was deliberate policy decision made at the highest level. The National Institute of Design was created in 1961 along with the IIMs. In fact, in 1956, I think the AIMs came in, and then before that, the IITs came in. And then, as a part of an independent nation where the country wanted to understand how we must move ahead as an independent entity altogether, independent nation altogether, design education was also a part of the policy push that we had. The founding logic was simple. A newly independent nation needed not just engineers and managers, but people who would make Indian products competitive, functional, and distinctly Indian. That is what the policy push was all about. And the intellectual foundation came from outside. The Government of India commissioned American designers Charles and Ray Eames to assess India's design and industrial needs. The resulting document, the India Report, became the direct blueprint for NID Ahmedabad. Their argument was that good design wasn't decoration. It was problem solving. India needed designers who would connect in its rich craft traditions, the demands of modern industry, and that required a dedicated institution, which is how NID Ahmedabad came into being. The four founding objectives that were created very clearly. By the way, it is very unusual for a government to say this is what we want, but in this particular case, the Government of India went and said this is what we want in terms of the policy blueprint for creating a design institute. What are the four policy benchmarks that they wanted? They said create skilled designers to support nascent industries. That's the first one. The second one was blend traditional artisanal heritage with modern design principles. The third principle was use design to solve social and economic problems from rural crafts to urban industrial needs. And the fourth one was develop a distinct Indian design entity or identity rooted in culture while embracing modern technique. So the Government of India very, very clear and unusually specific in terms of the kind of mandate it gave to the Eames to create that particular report. And by the way, remember, initially when the NID came in, it was always dealing with industrial problems. So they were dealing with HMT, they were dealing with BHEL and so on and so forth. But as they moved along, they also started creating logos for some of the biggest entities that India had. Doordarshan logo was created by them, SBI's logo was created by them, and on and on. So what essentially was, initially NIDs were working only for the industrial design part of it, moved beyond industrial design and started getting into many other spaces, MTNL, SBI, Doordarshan and so on and so forth. And that's how it kept moving forward. By the way, NID itself, if you look at it, NID itself was created in 1961, as I said, but it did not have the power to grant a degree. Somewhere in 2014, there was an NID Act that was passed. And the NID Act essentially made the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, to be an institution of national importance, which essentially granted it the degree granting status. So since then, you also have NID Ahmedabad giving, BDes design, MDes and all. So for decades, NID operated without formal degree granting powers equivalent to the IITs. This was corrected by the NID Act of 2014, which granted NIDs the status of institution of national importance, the same category as all IITs and all IIMs, and empowered them to award BDes and MDes degrees independently without, going through UGC or AICTE for approval purposes. So what essentially happened was, till that point in time, they were going to UGC, AICTE and getting the permission, and NID was giving a degree. But in 2014, that was corrected, where like all the IITs, like all the IIMs, even NIDs got the institution of national importance status. Now, INI status is given to only those institutions where the country and the Government of India and India feels that this is very important for the existential needs of India. And that's how NID was created in 1961. And it got justification, it got some kind of a power in 2014 when it was recognized as an INI, which is an institution of national importance. Right. And by 2019, we actually have added 5 more NIDs into the country, including Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana. So suddenly what we have is now we have 7 NIDs, including Ahmedabad, and the design education in India is flourishing. What we're going to talk now is take you through numbers of how the design education has been moving over the years, the kind of genesis that we had, which I just now explained, and moving forward to the kind of numbers that we have in terms of the number of students who are trying to enroll into design courses, the number of students who are now aspirational to go through a design course for their own career pathway. Everything that we'll discuss at this point in time. What we did was we actually created an ebook, a complete white paper, what we call it, about the design education in India. And what I'm about to show you now is a parts of the white paper, which essentially will summarize what essentially you must be knowing about design education in India, the number of institutes, the number of colleges, the number of students, the gender ratio, the kind of institution that we're doing, the regulators, all those things is what we're going to cover in this particular presentation. What I talked of earlier, the white paper, we call it the design education in India, right? It's a creativity at the center. So what we're talking of is everything to do with design education in India in terms of everything, which is institutes, top specializations, enrollment, fees, placements, everything we're going to talk here. Now, at a glance, if you look at it, there are 2,400 plus design colleges in the country, but not all offer a design degree. Some of them might be doing a certification, they might be giving a major, a minor, all those kind of things. But in all, about 2,400 colleges have some kind of a design education in the country. It can be certification, diploma, degree, whatever it is, right? Of which 451 colleges offer BDes and MDes. So from the 2,400, about 451, which is about 20% of them, actually are empowered to give a design degree. That is 451 of them. And by the way, of all these things, 80% are in the private sector. The very few in the government sector or public sector which actually offer a design course. 80% of these colleges are in private sector. We'll also talk about that as we move along. And 47 of these design colleges offer specializations. And we'll also talk about specializations as we move along. And the most important thing here is design as a subject, as a course, as a pathway is chosen by 70% of the women, and only 30% men choose this. So in a certain sense, design as a subject is more taken core as a course pathway by girls as compared to boys. So the gender diversity is in favor of women at this. And of late, one of the things that I always talk about, the fee increase that is in design is also driven by the fact that so many more people are actually aspiring to be designers in the country. So you actually saw 227% fee increase over the last decade as far as design is concerned, and I'm talking of NID Ahmedabad. So we take it off from that perspective. Now, what is the first NID? We talked about it earlier. It was founded in 1961. And this is India's first design institute. In 1961 it was established. And how did it come about? Charles and Ray Eames commissioned by Government of India. These people were commissioned by Government of India to create or conceptualize the Design Institute of India and the design education in India as a policy framework. And their India report became the blueprint. And this India report came out in 1958. So the report came out in 1958. By the time the institute came in, it became 1961. So it took 2.5 to 3 years. By the way, it is very fast even in those days as compared to the way we structure ourselves now, because today the report comes in and it takes 5-7 years for something to come out. These people, for the first Design Institute of India, just took 2.5 years to actually establish an institute also. And up to the 1970s, it was all industrial and product design. They were working with BHEL, they were working with HMT, the watches that we had, all those things had the design NID in Ahmedabad imprint in that sense, right? BHEL, HMT and all. And standardized design in machinery. So they were largely, the Design Institute at that point in time, till 70s, was only working for the industrial needs of the country. In 80s, it expanded into communication and graphic design, which is visual identities for Doordarshan, SBI, MTNL, all these things also started working out when they started working on the communication and graphic design also. And the early 90s, they opened programs in animation design, right? They started with industrial design, then moved to graphic and communication design, then they moved to animation, film and IT integrated design also. And that happened in 90s. Today there are 5 NIDs, 7 campuses, and 425 design seats is what we have. It will keep increasing. By the way, as you speak, something would have increased as you move along. And MDes seats also are there, 347 of them. By the way, now increasingly, you will actually see Karnataka overtaking many other states and adding a lot more design courses within the college there, because the startup ecosystem demands a very good design set. And that's where you actually see Karnataka also jumping up the gun. Otherwise, largely design institutes are in north and western parts of it. Now, what are the origins? We talked about it earlier. In 1951, the first IIT was established. AIMS was established in 1956, IIM was established in 1961, and NID was established in 1961. So we're talking of IIMs and NID being in 1961. And of course, the IIT came in 1951 and AIMS came in 19. So obviously, when you look at it, the post-independent era that we had, the need of the nation was the only driving force for establishing institutions. We wanted to create a good technical workforce for the country, IITs was established. You wanted to ensure that the best healthcare was available in the country, AIIMS was established. We needed the best managers to manage a public sector units initially, IIMS was established. And then NIT came in because they wanted to ensure that the artisanal framework that India had, the expertise that India had in the artisanal framework, and the design element to make it adaptable and make it more prominent across the world, it had to happen with an NIT being created. And what is the industry growth? Created skilled designers to support India's nascent post-independence industry. So everything, if you notice, is post-independence industries. How do you deal with, add design element to make us more competitive in the world markets? And there was tradition and modernity, blend India's rich artisanal heritage with modern design for global competitiveness. That was all the objective, right? And it also solved local problems, which addressed social and economic challenges through design. It had to be that because India was facing a lot of social and economic challenges, and this had to be challenged. And one of the elements was design also, and that is how we created rural crafts to urban need. And then the Indian design identity, develop a distinct design language rooted in Indian culture with modern techniques. So we talk of Indian culture and modern needs also. And what was the vision? To make India a design-led nation, placing creativity at the center of industrial, cultural and social development. By the way, all this is there in the white paper also. You can download the white paper. We'll give it a link below this video so that you can go and download the white paper. It's a complete, comprehensive, very, very good white paper where our researchers have worked for a lot of time to put all these things together and collate it and put it together. What is the regulation? This is one big challenge that we have here. I told you NITs did not have the degree granting status up to a point. So it was going to AICTE and UGC to get, to even offer a BDes and MDes design. But in 2014, that was corrected. In 2014, the Government of India made IITs, IIMs also as Institution of National Importance, which is INI. What it does is it gives them a status where they can offer their own degrees without going to any regulator. So now you have a situation where NIDs as INIs can offer their own degrees, and the other colleges have to go through UGC or AICTE respectively to get their own courses approved. So you actually have NIDs, which is by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and they had a NID Act 2014, Institution of National Importance, and grant own BTES and MTES. The other thing that you have is IITs. Two of the IITs, and as we move along, there might be a few more also. IIT Guwahati and IIT Bombay offer a BTES degree. What they do is, and those two IITs report to Ministry of Education. And here it is gone by the IIT Act. Now you actually have the NID Act for NITs, we have the IIT Act for IITs. And they admit through an examination called UCEED. And IIT Bombay, ITC School of Design is also there, but IIT Guwahati also is there. So that you actually have UCEED as the entrance test, and it is gone by the IIT Act. Then you have the NIFTs. NIFTs are through the NIFT Act of 2006. And this is owned by the Ministry of Textiles. And it's the premier fashion design institutions in the country. They also offer BTES also. Then you have FDDIs, which is owned by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And here, the Footwear Design and Development Institute are there, 11 campuses are there. Now, the reason why these people came in is because India was very big in leather and footwear design and all, and they wanted to make that a massive industry. So they set up a lot of campuses across the country. There are 11 campuses that Ministry of Commerce and Industry operates through the FDDI across the country. And then after that, we actually have the private, which is 80% of them, mind you. These are all public institutions, NIDs, IITs, NIFTs and FDDIs. And then you have 80% of them, which is the private and state institutions, which is the largest segment. Majority of BTES and seats are nationwide. And this is done by UGC plus respective state laws. So 20% of them is by Government of India and 80% of them is private, which is run through the UGC format, because any graduation, any degree that has to be granted has to be through the UGC route only, which is what happens here. Now moving further, what is the distribution of design colleges in the country? I earlier told you that there are 2,400 colleges, of which 451 offer BTES and MTES, and 80% are privately owned. We talked about it. Right. Now if you look at it in perspective, you have 2,400 colleges, of which 1,920 are private and 480 are public. In BTES MTES, of the 451, 361 are private and balance 90 are public. And then you have colleges with BTES and colleges with MTES also. MTES is only 208. Of the 457 that you have, only 208 offer a Masters of Design. And of this, the more important thing that you must look for is this part. There are a few which are women only. In BTES MTES, there are 16 which are women only, which means only women can study. right? Of which 16 are for BDes and 7 of the 60 which are also offering MDes but women only. Now what are the specializations that they have? There are many specializations, by the way, about 30 plus specializations. That is what we captured, but I'm giving you a few of them here. You have fashion design, which is the highest, which is 234. Interior design is very big, 177 of them offer that. Design general is 146, which means they are very generic in a certain sense. Product design, 81 of them offer as a specialization. Communication design, 64 of them offer as a specialization. Textile design, 59 of them offer as a specialization. Animation, 51. Graphic designing, 39. UI UX, 24. By the way, in graphic design and UI UX and all, a lot of certification programs will offer, which may not be a BDes or MDes or anything like that, but a very good skilling courses. And many of these things also in design, it is very prominent, by the way. A lot more people don't do it as a graduation or a master's, but they do it as a skilling program, a certification program, a learning program, because they want to just jump onto the industry as early as possible. Game design, about 22 of them offer. Visual design, 19 of them offer. And industrial design, 15 of them offer. By the way, they can be mutually inclusive. It's not mutually exclusive. So someone who's offering fashion design can also offer industrial and graphic and anything like that. So all this is, you must remember, it is mutually not exclusive, it's inclusive. And in all, we have about 47 plus specializations that are available in the country, what we tracked. Not 30, my mistake. It's 47 of them is what we tracked of the specializations that are in design. Now, the geographical split. I told you earlier that West and North of India had a lot more prominence as compared to South of India. So you see 80 of them are in Maharashtra. Right, Gujarat has 41 of them, but Gujarat has the best of them, I must also say that. Right from, you talk of CEPT University to NID Ahmedabad, of course. We start with NID Ahmedabad, then CEPT University, then you talk of Anand National University, then you talk of Ahmedabad University, you talk of Nirma University. All these are based in, Gujarat. So the design capital of the country, if I were to say this, is Gujarat, or rather Ahmedabad. And then comes Maharashtra or anything like that. Gujarat has 41 of them, Rajasthan has 38 of them, Madhya Pradesh has 37 of them, Uttar Pradesh 36 of them, and Karnataka is slowly picking up. Andhra is 21, West Bengal 13, Kerala 12, Tamil Nadu 36, Delhi NCR 25, right? Now if you see, Karnataka is slowly picking up because Karnataka was nowhere in the picture till the startups took over. When startups started emerging, and a lot of them started happening in Karnataka and in Delhi NCR and Hyderabad, then Karnataka started picking up on design, because for you, any successful startup, design element is very important, and that is where a lot more colleges in Karnataka are offering design courses also. How is the student enrollment? Over the last decade, if you see, the enrollment growth was over a decade was 8x. So a lot more design colleges, a lot more design students also. Of course, it is driven by the demand for the course. So a lot more colleges now are offering design because there is a lot more demand for them also. And for MDes, there are 6x the enrollment. And consistently, 70% of the girls. If you now look at it, in 2013, 68.79% of the total design element students were girls. In 2022, it's 68.7%. So essentially almost the same, give or take 2 percentage points here or there. And the boys are always 31, 25, 30%. And for MDes also, it's similar. It is just that you're dealing with about 55% for girls and 45% for boys as we come out in 2022. Now, that's the last data that we have. It might keep increasing or decreasing, but we're dealing with about 55-60% at MDes level, but 70% at a BDes level for being girls. Now, what are the design stalwarts that you have? As I told you earlier, 1961, the first design institute was established. It was done by the Sarabhai family in Ahmedabad. So essentially what they gave is land and the policy framework and everything. They actually were parting in completely. The NID Act came out in 2014, which made NID Ahmedabad a institute of national importance. There are 5 NIDs we have and 7 campuses across India. 425 BTech seats and 347 in these ones, the NIDs we're talking about. And specializations, I already told you, but what do NIDs offer? Communication, industrial, textile, apparel, lifestyle, accessory, IT integrated, interdisciplinary. And it's NID Ahmedabad, of course, is the key player in India's startup ecosystem also, because a lot more startups are going to NID to recruit students who are going through the design course in the country. And the leading private institutions that you have is, of course, Gujarat. I told you Gujarat leads the way. CEPT University was the first of them, pioneered private design education in the country. CEPT University, what you call it. Then you have Ahmedabad University, Karnataka University, Anand National University. Srishti Manipal does very well. Off late, BITS School of Design, which is owned by the BITS Pilani people, they started a campus in Bombay. doing extremely well. And in a few private players, you actually have Pearl Academy and all, which are having multiple campuses, but they may not be offering a design BTech or MTech. Remember that. The important thing that we must know is because the demand is there, more institutes that are being created, and of course the cost of education also is increasing. You actually have, just in NID Ahmedabad over the last decade, we actually had a fee which was 4.8 lakh rupees earlier, a decade back, which is now 15.72 lakh. So a 227% fee jump is what we saw here. And similarly, in NIFT Delhi, what was 5 lakh rupee fee had become 13.15 lakh, which is 161% fee increase. So very clearly what we've noticed over a period of time is that the fee, which is 4.8 lakh in Ahmedabad, has become 15.72. 5 lakh 4,000 here has become 13.14. And this is the kind of fee. So the fee in the last decade has doubled or more than doubled. And that remains a concern as far as we are concerned. But there is demand, there is cost increase. So it might be looking at it from that perspective. But there is definitely a fee increase and the ROI decrease that happened in Design Institute also. Now, what are the entrance exams? How do you get into these colleges? Very important for you. For NIDs, it is a NID DAT. This is the only way you can get in. Now, but for IITs, IIT Guwahati, Bombay and all offer that. UCEED is the only way that you do it. You actually call it a paper 2 and then you start dealing with the undergrad common entrance test. UCEED is what you call. And there are 53 colleges that accept this particular score of UCEED. Whereas NID DAT score is accepted at 23 colleges. NIFT, you actually have a separate test. 30 colleges accept that. And state CETs, Maharashtra, Telangana and all, they have their own examinations also, common entrance test, which varies depending on each state as you go along. Right. And if you now look at NID DAT, prelims examinations over the last 4 years, in 21-22 for BTech, there were 10,751 people who took the examination. And in 24-25, 15,000. So in just 4 years flat, you actually saw a 50% jump in the number of people who are taking the NID DAT examination. And same for BTech, MDES, what was 4,180 became 6,612. So again, a 55-60% jump in the number of exam takers for this whole thing. Now, when you look at NID DAT, it's very competitive. Prelims plus mains plus interview is what you follow, because in design, a lot of work is about your creative abilities. So I'll also talk about it much later when I talk of the top 10 colleges who are offering design in the country, where I talk of the kind of person who should do it, design, the kind of colleges that are out there and so on and so forth. But NID DAT is very competitive. There is a prelims exam, there is a mains exam, and there is an interview. UCEED is IIT administered by test acceptance. 53 colleges accept the UCEED examination. NIFT, again, it's conducted by NIFT itself. And then you have state level common entrance exams also. Right. Now, what are the key takeaways that I have through this entire white paper that I presented to you? Just to summarize what we're talking about. The design education formally began in 1961 with NID Ahmedabad and rooted in the EAMS and India report. What we call it, the EAMS India report is what we talk. There are 2,400 plus colleges, 47 plus design specializations. About 80% of degree granting institutions are private. Maharashtra and Gujarat dominate. Karnataka is emerging fast with the startup-driven ecosystem that we have at this point in time. Women outnumbered men 2:1 at BTech level for a decade and overtook at MDES 2 since 2019. Right? Fees at top institution jumped from 161 to 225% over the last decade and keeps going up as you speak. NID DAT BTech applications grew 42% in 4 years, just 4 years. And same thing seems to be happening for the MDES also. And graduates entered diverse roles across IT, FMCG, healthcare, automotive, and increasingly launched their own ventures also. We will talk about this in the next video, where we actually talk about the top 10 design colleges, the exams that you need to take, and the kind of roles that will emerge, and who should do it, who should not do it. We'll talk about it separately. At this point in time, what we're talking about is a small presentation of the design education in India, a white paper that all of you must know before you get into the space. I hope this helps you. Thank you so much. Namaste.